If you have Saturn in the 7th house, let's talk a little bit about the 7th house. If you're watching this video, you probably already know that the 7th house is a house of relationships. It's the one-on-one relationships. It's the serious, like, love house, okay? So if you have Saturn there, Saturn is a planet of restriction and limitation. He's kind of like a cranky old man grandpa that is just like being mean to you and judging you and just like criticizing you. But he does do it from a place of love. So he's that tough love sort of character. And if you have Saturn placed in your 7th house, that means that relationships have kind of been difficult throughout your life. So either you've had difficult partners or you've had difficulty finding the right partner for you. So it's probably true. I've noticed this in a lot of people with Saturn in the 7th house. They don't really find their person until after their Saturn return. I've noticed this a lot. So that said, relationships are pretty serious for you, Saturn in the 7th house. Like, you really want a partner. Wherever Saturn is placed in your chart, not only do you find limitations and difficulties, but you'll also realize that that area of your life is pretty serious for you, because Saturn is that serious aspect of you as well. So if you have Saturn in the 7th house, relationships are pretty serious for you. So you either got married very young or you haven't found somebody, but you really want to have a partner. That's like definitely very important for you. So now that I've gone on about that, let me get started with the quotes. Okay, so the first one is, this one's actually a poem. I just thought it was really fitting. So, in youth, it was a way I had to do my best to please and change with every passing lad to suit his theories. But now I know the things I know and do the things I do, and if you do not like me so, to hell my love with you. Dorothy Parker wrote this. So I thought this was super fitting for Saturn in the 7th house, because I've noticed that people with Saturn in the 7th house can have a tendency to compromise themselves a lot for relationships. Like, they can bend who they are for their partner because relationships are so important to them. So by the time your Saturn return comes around, it would be a good idea to kind of have more knowledge of who you are and what you bring to relationships, so that you don't settle for people that aren't good enough for you. Because when you have Saturn there, relationships are so important for you, so you might have a tendency to want the relationship over everything, and that isn't always a good thing. It's actually probably never a good thing to choose a relationship over absolutely everything. So don't change yourself to fit your partner or to fit your relationship. Definitely get to know yourself and who you are, so that when somebody comes along who doesn't value you or doesn't really fit with you, you won't really bend to their will in order to make yourself fit into that relationship puzzle. That was the first one. Okay, the next quote is, "The greatest thing in the world is to know how to belong to oneself." And Michel de Montaigne said that in his complete essays. So I think this is a really important quote, because people who have Saturn in the 7th house struggle with relationships and with finding their soulmate, their partner, the person that they want to be with. So they have this, you guys need a relationship. It's really a very important thing to you. And if that doesn't happen, you kind of find yourself like in this, like, you feel kind of not desperate, but you can get pretty desperate for a relationship. But if your Saturn return comes along and you find yourself without a partner, take that time to really get to love and appreciate yourself for who you are, and really work on your self-esteem and on valuing yourself, so that when somebody else eventually comes along, because people eventually will come along, you will make the right choice. And by right choice, I mean you'll choose somebody who values you and wants those things that you want for yourself for you, so that you have a serious, solid, and stable relationship together. That definitely will come along, Saturn in the 7th house. And it's also a good idea to not be making the same mistakes that you already have made. Okay, so let's move on to the next quote. "It is an absolute human certainty that no one can know his own beauty or perceive a sense of his own worth until it has been reflected back to him in the mirror of another loving, caring human being." And John Joseph Powell said that. So definitely this quote sounds like a 7th house quote, because people with Saturn in the 7th house, they need love so much. They need that one-to-one relationship. And I definitely, like, there are different kinds of people in the world who don't necessarily want a marriage or something. I mean, generally people want to be with other people, but nobody really wants that love as much as a Saturn 7th house person does. So I really feel that you guys deserve it, and it's okay if you have to wait until after your Saturn return. And I think it's important to give yourself that time so that you're able to really feel that true love that you will feel if you do wait for that right person to come along, and you stop wasting your time with trying to fit into the mold of all those like silly people that come around in your life. You really should wait for that person that is the indicated person for you. Okay, so stop wasting time with these silly ass people, okay? Next quote. True love is not a strong, fiery, impetuous passion. It is, on the contrary, an element calm and deep. It looks beyond mere externals and is attracted by qualities alone. It is wise and discriminating, and its devotion is real and abiding. Ellen G. White said that. I thought that was a really beautiful quote. And it talks about a more serious, stable, real love. And that is definitely what somebody with Saturn in the 7th house needs and wants. And maybe throughout your life, you've had like these silly flings and you've wanted so badly to be in love and to be in a relationship, and you've accepted less than that. You've accepted something that was less deep and that was less calm than what you deserve and want. But by the time that you're around 30 years old, you need to start being more serious and just waiting for that right person, and stop wasting time with these trifling people that you definitely encountered throughout your life. Okay, so the next quote is, whatever he had found had made him a better person. Maybe that's what love was, finding the person who brings out the best in you and eliminates the worst. Diana Holquist said that. Okay, so that again reminds me of Saturn in the 7th house, because I feel that with Saturn there in the 7th house, because it's also the house of how you experience other people in a relationship. So Saturn being there, you might come across that partner who is going to be your stabilizing force, and somebody rather serious and mature who wants to help build you up. And definitely having Saturn in the 7th house indicates that you want or need a partner who helps you be a better person, helps build you up. And that might be something that you should definitely look for in a relationship. You shouldn't settle for anybody who is not going to do that for you, because that isn't going to be the right relationship for you. So those were my quotes, guys. I hope that you find them helpful. If you did, make sure you give me a thumbs up. And if you have other 7th house Saturn quotes, make sure that you put them in the comments. I would really like to read some more. And I will see you in the next video.